Good morning. I'd like to call to order this meeting of the Hampton Bays Water District Commissioners on this 14th day of October 2021. Please rise if you're able and join us for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Right, please be seated. All right, Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Supervisor Schneiderman?
I hear you, but I think that was me here.
Yes. Councilman Lofstad? Councilman Martell?
Here.
Councilman Bouvier?
Here.
Councilman Scavone?
He's here too. I didn't hear.
I didn't hear anything either.
Okay, so
Tommy John, you're muted. There you go.
I'm muted and I'm here.
Yes, excellent.
all right. Why don't we, I guess, start with public portion? Is there anyone who wishes to be heard in public portion? Is there any hands raised?
I see no hands.
All right, a motion to close public portion.
Second.
Seconded by, was that Councilman Scavone?
Or Martell.
Oh, it's Councilman Martell. Okay, sorry. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The agenda, we have a number of items to discuss. We are joined by Rich McEwen, who is the superintendent over there, and Assistant Superintendent James Cappers. And we also have John Collins from H2M. So we have a number of top projects, project updates on Forefield, litigation, which we'll talk about in executive session, and then deferral letter and Threefield, and then we can just have open questions from the board to the commission. Is Pumpage, and who is going to be introducing this?
I'll start off, Jay. I'll kind of touch on every topic as I go, and then as we finish up, we can kind of explain one as we go. So first off, I'd like to thank Supervisor Schneiderman and the Board of Water Commissioners. Thank everyone for their cooperation this year and continued effort in obtaining assets and capital needs for the Hampton Bays Water District. Since 2019, when Rich and I took over, we've been exerting a lot of effort into upgrading our infrastructure, maintaining our current distribution system, ensuring we are providing safe, potable drinking water within the strict EPA guidelines. Our number one thing and number one priority, obviously, after safety, has been overall customer satisfaction. This has been a difficult task since 2018 being our issue that we had. Our proactive approach and immediate response to issues has allowed us to regain the trust of the public, implement a strong water conservation policy, and have open lines of communication between the board and us, implement a strong water conservation with irrigation, and improvement to advising the public on what's going on and keeping them in the know. This year has been a busy year in both pumping and project productivity. We started two major projects, the iron removal plant and the rehabilitation of tank number 3 at plant number 4. Both projects have seen major delays in mobility of equipment, obtaining necessary parts, weather, and then mostly due to COVID-19. Scheduling was difficult and deadlines missed their marks, but we were able to take course of action to ensure that we had meet the demands of the upcoming pumping season. While those two projects are still going on, they are projected to be completed by month's end. We had completed a leak detection survey, full carbon change out of our GAC filtration system at the main plant. Two of our tanks were washed and coated with epoxy. We completed a plant 3 deferral, and we had 1 3-inch meter change out. Our goal has and always will be to provide the best customer service, clean drinking water, and comfort to the public that we are taking the best approach in upgrading our infrastructure, applying for grants, working with the board to allocate funds, and making sure the projects are seen to their respective completions. So first, I'll go into pumpage, which is our bread and butter. 2021 was a busy year. Summer months were dry and irrigation use was in full swing. During the season, we overcame many obstacles in regard to pumpage. Tank number 3 was out of service for the beginning of the year due to delays in the rehab process. Wells 4.1 and 4.2 were delayed to be put into service due to the stall on the iron treatment plant. In coordination with H2M, we were able to install bypass piping in the iron plant to utilize the wells to go to system. H2M also put the pressure on Southern Road, the bridge, to complete the interior of the tank first so that they could have the storage for the summer months here in Hampton Bays. We also had 2 wells at the main plant down for a period of 4 weeks due to the carbon changeout. We started at the beginning of the year able to use our old carbon as it was effective in filtering out the PFCs. As we pumped more, we saw our PFNA, the acid, started to break through, so we scheduled the carbon changeout. Instead of shutting down the whole field, we elected to do 1 vessel at a time. This allowed us to run 1 well at the main plant through the single vessel, which is effectively able to filter out all the PFCs. As you can see, we were busy. Now for the numbers. Currently, through September, we've pumped over 864 million gallons of water. That's 36 million above last year at this point. And our intake of revenue has been similar to last year. We are above, at this point from last year, $376,311. So as we can see, the pumpage has been on the rise over the last 10 years. We've seen an increase of at least 2% increase in pumpage for every year. Last year we thought was going to be the busiest, but we're projected to supersede that and be well above the billion mark like we were last year. With that, we also did a rate change at the beginning of this year. That rate change has seen no issue within the public. We advised them of what the reasons why we had to do those rate changes. Very understandable. They're appreciative of where the money's going into the infrastructure and back into the Hampton Bays Water District, and ensuring them that we are providing the best service possible through customer service and also the potable water use. I guess I'll stop it there and see if there's any questions regarding pumping or anything that we have speaking so far.
All right. Questions? James, how much did the pumping increase this year?
Right now, we're about 40 million above last year at this point.
On a percentage basis, do we know what that is?
It's about 2%.
2%?
Yeah.
So that's typical, 2% growth or no?
It's been steady. Last year was a bigger jump. We were about 5% jump last year. That was due to COVID and everybody coming out here and earlier and staying out here steady. But like a 1 to 2% has been a steady increase yearly.
All right, and I guess it's impacted by how dry it is too, right? Because if it rains a lot, people don't water as much of their lawns, right? They don't use as much to fill their pools.
Yeah, just to give you an example, in our summer month, I think we peaked out about 8 million gallons of water in a 24-hour period. And during our off season, we barely break the 1 million gallon mark. So you can see how much of an increase it is in the summer months due to the influx of irrigation use and obviously people filling pools, washing cars, and so forth.
And the pressure, the tank capacity, all that was able to handle that increase?
Yeah, we were able to maintain that, being that we took course of action going different routes with John and H2M to make sure that we were able to use the tank and able to use the wells, bypassing the filters at the time, using PO4 to sequester iron, and then obviously being able to have the storage, the 1 million gallons of storage at the plant 4 definitely helped out.
Yeah, Jay, in my history here, this is the demand on the system has been a steady growth throughout. And I just wanted to just touch on what James had said about the improvements already made to the district. We've had, like I said, we've experienced pumping numbers that are just constantly we had summertime volumes in the early spring, and that started last year with the onslaught of COVID. We had a little bit of a saving grace, I think, because of the storms drove some people back. But in my opinion, the improvements that we've made to our system so far have greatly improved the ability for us to keep up with the demand on the system. We all know the situation a few years ago. We experienced pretty much that same situation this year with our main plant being down those wells while the carbon was exchanged in the vessels. In spite of the situation earlier with the rust problem in the summertime, the demands on the system were met. We didn't experience the loss and pressure as great as we had in the past. We had pressure issues this year. Of course, it's an ongoing problem that is being resolved. And I think, with the town's help, the board's help over these past couple of years, James had stated, everybody seems to be working together and the system is improving.
Okay. Let me see if other board members have questions.
Are you confident that the water conservation methods that you have implemented are hitting home? Is the message being received?
They're being received, whether they're following them or not, that's hard for us to tell because there's no way to enforce them. Just
Right, exactly. I'm seeing the increase. I got 4%, by the way, in water consumption. And we also saw an increase in the population of Hampton Bays. I think it was 11%. Right, Councilman Martell, that's probably about 1,000 people in Hampton Bays over the couple-year period. Is that something that the water district tracks, a per capita usage of water?
It's hard to tell with the
Right.
influx of people, but we have seen new homes being built, new water meters going in. Nothing more significant than years past. It's kind of on a steady pace of installs, 11 to 12 new installs, sometimes more, sometimes less. A lot of houses being sold and bought. We've seen that happen. A lot of transactions going through where people are changing ownership of houses. That has been more than we've ever seen in the office. But to see that impact of more people actually living in Hampton Bays, we haven't really seen that in a pumping sense. Right.
Okay. Thank you. Well, I just appreciate your team and everything that you're doing. You're actually fixing the plane while flying it. So.
All right, other questions?
Yeah, James, when you were at your maximum daily pumpage over the summer, how close were you to actual maximum amount you could pump?
I believe our maximum amount we could provide, John, you can correct me, I think it's 10 million gallons a day.
Okay.
Oh. Hold on. Were we just kicked out? Okay, no, we're back. Sorry, excuse us. Yeah, I think we could provide up over 10 million gallons of water in a 24-hour period.
Okay.
So you could tell, 8 million, we're very close. I'm not sure what the percentage, probably 80% of our pumping capacity, 85% of our pump capacity. So, we're basically full bore. And the wells don't run in a 24-hour period. Our major demand is from 1 a.m. to 6 a.m. It's a 5-hour period where our storage tanks and our pumps would go from running 2 wells during the late afternoon into the night, into the early morning. We have 11 wells running full bore with all 3 of our storage tanks being depleted. So you can tell it's, 5 hours out of a 24-hour period, it's a significant demand on the system.
Right. Thank you.
Other questions? All right, you want to move on to the next topic?
Yeah, I guess we touched on our current ongoing projects and how they've delayed. And we had projected to have the tank completed, I believe it was March of this year. John, if you can correct me if I'm wrong, or February, and then the iron treatment was supposed to be March or April of this year. Immediately we were hit with delays because of mobility of equipment due to COVID. Obviously, I'm sure the town wide has experienced the same issues we did. And then it was a delay in getting equipment because there was the computer chip issue where some things weren't able to be bought because of the computer chip delay. Weather played a significant impact, but I'll kind of kick it back to John Collins, who's been, following these projects very closely for us and being very stringent with them and trying to do whatever we can to get these completed, and then he can give you guys a better projected completion time for both.
Good morning. So I'll start with the tank. The tank, we had some issues and delays with the contractor, and original date, due to weather, we extended him from March to about May 1st. We gave him about 5 or 6 weeks, just because there were a lot of windy days and a lot of cold days where we couldn't apply paint. So about June 1st, we kicked them off the site. The only thing remaining was some overcoat, top coat on the tank bowl, the logo, and some fencing and restoration. He's currently at site right now addressing the remaining items. We had drained the tank for him yesterday, and he's scheduled to be complete on or near the end of the month, plus or minus, a week or so. As far as the iron filters go, we have a walkthrough on Tuesday with the Suffolk County Health Department to get their, so they can look at the plant, do their inspection, and hopefully gain their approval to begin running it to system. Once we can get run it to system, we could really shake it out and dial in our chemicals and dial in everything we need to do to make sure that plant run efficiently. So a couple minor work items out there. We have some painting of pipes to do that, and some painting inside the building, flooring inside the building that we're not going to do until we can turn that the wells off for a couple of days, because can't paint the pipes when they're have water in them. So we need a couple dry days in there, and we anticipate running the wells once we get permission for a month or so, just to make sure all the shut it down and turn it back over to contractors to finish the job. Any questions on that?
So you covered the tank. So the tank was going to be done by the end of this month, right? So we already did the interior. This is just the exterior will be done.
Yeah, we did. I think the exterior is a primer, an intermediate coat, and a final coat. We had about 50% of the final coat to do on the top half of the tank. So we're addressing that now.
You're satisfied with the work quality so far?
I'm sorry, what was that?
You're satisfied with the work quality?
Yes.
And the interior, it's been in use, so that was done pre-season, and that's holding up fine, right?
Yes, sir. Yep, we can look at it. They owe us a year inspection, so in May they come back and we do a year annual inspection, and then they're responsible.
And then the iron manganese filtration, it's just the health department hasn't signed off on it yet, but it's close to going into service, right? So also by the end of the month, maybe?
Yeah, I hope so. We did all our water quality sampling, and everything seems to be working. We were getting non-detects for manganese and iron after the filter. So we're confident that it's working. It's just, we have to just check the box and get the health department to sign off on it in their inspection.
Does that alter the taste of the water having no iron at all?
It might, for the better. Yeah. Unless somebody's,
Oh, for the better, because I know like certain mineral content you want.
Yes.
Taste. Okay, so.
I think what it is if people are used to drinking a certain water with a certain taste and they've drank that all their life, they're gonna notice the change more than somebody who might have just moved to town or somebody who's just visiting. Yeah.
So they're gonna note, and it's gonna be a positive taste change in your estimation?
I think it is. It's all about the individual. It's to me, it would be a positive, but the person who's been drinking water with a little iron in it all their lives, you never know what they think. So
Okay. All right. I mean, a little iron's probably okay for you. A lot of iron could raise some issues, but well, I mean, I know it's mostly an aesthetic issue, iron, but
Yes.
uh,
And yeah, we still have some wells with low level iron that's going to contribute to some of the taste. So
okay. And so those will be on, but now, did we winterize those, right? Or are they gonna run all year?
we're going to run them all year.
They are.
Yep.
Okay, and that'll be okay in terms of freezing temperatures outdoors?
Provided we run them, yes. You know, the water is 55 degrees, so provided that, and all the small piping and stuff is in a heated building. So the only thing sticking out the back is the filter that's exposed to the snow. So as long as you keep
The water
as long as you
running,
keep
we
the
should
water
be
running.
okay. I mean, we could insulate them, couldn't we?
We could, yeah.
That might be worth doing, just putting some sort of insulated blanket. I'm sure they make something that's like slides right over it.
Yeah, they're similar to the blankets they use when they're pouring concrete in the winter. They're very thick
I
insulated.
mean, I'd hate to see any damage to the filtration system after the amount of money it's costing. But I'll leave it to your advisement on that. All right, board, do you guys have any questions?
It looks like you're frozen.
Oh, yeah. First of all, are you hearing me well? I don't think my connection's good.
There's a
I
couple.
can hear you now, Tommy Daniel.
Okay. Well, the iron plant, that was part of the discussion that we had with the building, whether we wanted to put the building around the entire filtration or not. But it's going to be okay in the wintertime, particularly at night when there's low water flow. We're still anticipating that there'll be enough to keep it from freezing, ample enough to keep this from freezing.
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir.
That correct, John? Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right. Good. I mean, that was a cost savings to set it up that way.
Yes, and you know, we had done it that to kind of save costs on the front end, and you know, we did design the slab underneath the filter, so if we ever needed to come back through and kind of anchor like a little tent shelter or something to it, we could if we really wanted to. But
Okay.
there's no plan
Well,
for that right now.
All right, but what the supervisor is saying will help. Okay, good.
Any other questions? Okay. We didn't have it as much, though I'm really happy this iron is going in. We've had, I guess, less complaints about discolored water this year than some of the prior years. The levels over there, we were able to stay within that range. I think it's I forget, one.
You're allowed
Between iron and manganese.
You're allowed 1 part combined of iron and manganese, and I think
Right.
we maxed out at about 0.95 or 0.96, so we were below.
One part per what? Million?
Million.
Okay.
For what? I'm sorry.
So,
1 part per million.
Thank you.
okay, so, but now that's at field 4, correct?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
And we have 1 well operating or 2 wells operating there?
2.
We do have 2. I thought one was down for a while.
It was, but you know, it's part of the it's part of the system. It's going through the iron plant. We did run it this summer. We were able to get it up and running this summer, though. But it was down previously to the iron project because we were doing a cleaning on it.
Okay. We have the potential to put a 3rd well in at that field, correct?
I think that was the original plan when the site was secured by the town. I think the original plan did have 3 wells. Yeah, there's a portion, I guess, to the north of the current well, 4-1 well that would be a spot. But you're going to be dealing with a very heavy iron well, and
But you have the filtration there.
Yeah, but I don't know if you'll be able to get it out of there transmission wise. So
I think the issue is more the location of it is hard to move. We don't need the water in that location. We need it downtown, and getting it
Yeah,
downtown isn't the issue.
yeah, we need it downtown and to the west now. So
To the west?
East.
east. I'm sorry, I'm back. I'm looking at the map upside down.
Right. Okay, any other questions? Okay, you want to go to the next topic?
Yeah, John, you want to discuss about the directional drilling, where we're at with that? The two big projects, the drilling of Ponquag Bridge, adjacent to the Ponquag Bridge, and the Shinnecock Canal.
All right, so yep, as we're aware, we have two directional drills, one under Shinnecock Bay by Ponquag Bridge, and then one under Shinnecock Canal up by Mashut Beach. We have a health department approval for the improvements to the district. For Ponquag Bridge, we've submitted to the DEC, the Army Corps, and then there's a department there's a committee in the town that we have to submit to. We submitted all that to them. We're just waiting to hear back from the three agencies. And then for for Shinnecock Canal, we're dealing with, since we're coming up in Mashut Beach, which is a county park, I've been working with Jim Burke to get the county to permission for us to not only use it during construction, but have a permanent easement surrounding the water main after construction. So I just got some paperwork that, Jim, I was going to send over to you that maybe you can send over to the county. Once I get that paperwork signed, we can make all our submissions, and we should be okay in that sense. We are ready for bidding whenever the town says let's bid it. All our plans and specs are done, and then we are submitting for a water infrastructure improvement grant on that. So the grant, if we're successful, the grant can give us up to 60% of the project, up to $3 million. It's not guaranteed that you get 60% of $3 million, but I think anything would help. So we're in the process of putting that grant together now. I talked to Eileen Quinn yesterday, and we're missing one resolution that I believe the board will see shortly. It's authorizing the supervisor to sign all the documents for the grant and so on and so forth.
John, is this a state grant?
This is a state grant, yes, sir. It's the Water Infrastructure Improvement Act of 2017. So each year, except for 2020, they've put out a few $100 million for clean water and drinking water projects. And this is what helped us fund the perfluorinated filters at Plant 1 back in 2017. So we're going to take another shot with the drills and see if we can get some reimbursement for that.
That sounds good. I think Councilman Schiavone is working with the controller to explore whether some of the COVID money we were able to get could be used for this type of project. So I'm hopeful that we're looking at possibly $500,000 that could go toward this from that money. So what Tommy John will keep us posted if that's possible.
Especially considering the delays because of COVID on the other infrastructure projects. Of course, those projects were delayed several months, and that I believe, increased the price of those projects as well.
So that's pretty much as a wrap. That's the subaqueous crossings. Any questions on those?
Well, I had a question about something you said with the easements. And then you said you're ready to go out to bid, but we're not ready to go out to bid if we don't have the easements. So I want to just make sure before we award a bid that the project can be completed.
Yes, sir. We have to have at least, I would think, as long as we have an agreement from the county that they'll grant us the easements, we'd be safe, going out to bid. But a lot of times we wait till after the main is installed to delineate the exact easement, just in case something changes during construction. I just think we need their agreement that they'll grant it to us once in.
Jim, did you want to comment on that? You're muted.
I reached out to Jason Smigan yesterday, so I should be hearing something from him. If John can give me the documentation, or the information on exactly what we're looking for, that would be helpful.
See, Jason's the current Parks Commissioner?
Yeah, as far as I know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, just keep us, I just want some degree of confidence that the county is consenting before we
Yeah.
go out the bid.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Otherwise, we'll end up getting held up. They'll have mobilization costs. We'll end up with extra costs associated with equipment sitting there not being able to be used.
Right.
So,
Right. I can reach also with Bob Braun, who's attorney in the county attorney's office, deals anything real estate related, just so to find out if there would be any possible issue that the county would have with this.
and so James, not James, John, what are you thinking of time-wise in terms of when will these projects actually be constructed?
Well, I think we'd like to get the bids on the street now. We just want some kind of indication from the county that they'll grant it. And I'd like to get the bids on the street now, so it'll be a letting period of 3 to 4 weeks, and then through the contracts. And the weather is not going to slow them down, but some of the contractors that may do this may be coming from out of state because it's a pretty specialty construction. So hopefully, late, second, third month of, maybe January, February of next year, we'll be breaking ground.
And can the work be done then when the ground's frozen, or?
Yes, it's once they break the initial frozen ground, it's a lot of it is they're working 25, 30, 40 feet below grade. So a lot of the work can be done.
What's the so it should be up and running then by, I guess, sometime in the spring. So
Should
April,
be.
May.
Yeah, it should be, as provided we get a good favorable bid period and we get some favorable contractors putting in bids on it.
So we're bidding it. So we could end up with two companies. We could end up with one. So I guess they would do one crossing and then the other. So they would start, I guess, with the Shinnecock Bay crossing and then do the canal crossing.
Yeah, the way I have it is I'm taking individual bids for each project, and then I also have a section where they bid. They give me numbers for both, and provide if there's an advantage to doing both. And then in the bid documents, we direct them to do Ponquag Bridge first before Shinnecock Canal.
Okay. And what happens to the old pipe?
Over on the bridge side, we're going to remove as much as we can. Anything from the low tide mark up, and anything we can reach reasonably without entering the water or disrupting any of the beach or any of the wetlands. But the one that's sitting on the bottom will just rot on the bottom.
Okay. So there's no point in keeping it for a backup or redundancy or anything?
No, I don't think so. No.
Yeah.
No.
And we shouldn't need it. We shouldn't need redundancy when we have a buried pipe.
Yes, exactly.
All right. Any board questions about the directional drilling? Okay, let's move on to the next topic.
I think lastly, we're just going to touch on the deferral that we had drawn up this year. Just to recap why we did this deferral and what this deferral was for is that August of last year, the New York State came down and adopted new drinking water standards for all public water systems. They dropped the levels from for PFOA and PFOS from an advisory level of 70 parts per trillion down to a maximum contaminant level of 10 parts per trillion for both contaminants. So we had a detect in September of 2020 in one of our wells of 3-3 of 40 parts per trillion. We shut the well off immediately, did vigorous testing thereafter, and those test results came back as non-detect. So we believe that test was an anomaly or a faulty test, but the state still saw that 40 parts per trillion as a quote unquote a violation. So in order to stay out of a violation, we had to do what's called a deferral. Basically, it's like a course of action plan that we had to develop in coordination with H2M, show the state that we will be in good faith to do whatever we can to, if these levels stayed at that current level, to remove the contaminants if need be. We tested every well at the 3 field while running monthly, and each month we were able to stay below the 10 parts. 3-1 remained as a non-detect all summer. 3-2 had detections up around an 8, and 3-3 just started showing a small detection around a 3 and a 4. But we utilize what's called blending, similar to what we do here at the main plant. We blend all 3 wells together before going to system, and those numbers have been around the 3s and 4s all summer, has never gone above. So John just completed, along with H2M, I believe everybody should have received a copy of our third quarter deferral update. Basically states that we continue to blend those wells as need be. And if those levels shall rise, we're going to apply for filtration there at plant number 3. John, since you are the man of the deferral, if you would like to touch on any more information that I might have left out.
No, I think you got it. We do, according to the deferral that we did, we do, if we're going to proceed to construction, I think we have to have that in place by October of 2022. It's either October or November of 2022. Right now we're just in the report phase. The report is essentially complete. The next step would be if the town, the district wanted to proceed with actual construction and implementation of treatment, that would be the next phase.
So, John, let me ask you this. So it sounds like we had one test of one well that was over the recommendation or the mandatory levels, which could have been a lab error, could have been anything. And so they put us on this sort of testing regime. We test monthly. We're in this deferral status. We've actually spent the money now developing how we would do filtration. Should we need to do filtration? I obviously hope that we don't have to. But it seems like we are seeing very, trace amounts, very minute amounts. So we do stand ready to do this. What I'm wondering is, it just seems like there's a lot of money out there at the moment for water quality improvement projects. Removing contamination from water. The governor had that big announcement. Should we be applying for a grant to do it? If we can get it paid for, why not put in carbon filtration there?
It's definitely an eligible project. We also have the ongoing lawsuit with Napoli Skolnick, and I believe I'm not 100% sure of where that stands, but I believe that they're in some kind of preliminary discovery. So that potentially could fund a good portion of it too.
It could. But my question is, should we be applying for a grant for that? We have it designed. It's sort of shovel ready.
Well, we don't have it designed. We just have the report that we would need for the application.
Okay.
We would still need to do the design and get all our DEC and,
But we could apply for a grant for the design and construction, couldn't we?
yes. Yes.
Is there any harm in applying for a grant?
I don't think so. I mean, I don't, we definitely is eligible. We were looking more at the, we were looking at the drills as the one to go for, because eventually we have the potential to recoup the money for 3 in a lawsuit, while you're not going to recoup the money for the drills in a lawsuit. So it's kind of a little bit more, you have the potential of 2 sources of funding if you get the grant for the drills, and hopefully the lawsuit comes through on Plan 3, and we didn't put grant money towards something that's going to be reimbursed to us anyway. That was the thinking on that.
I mean, would doing another grant request, would we be competing with ourselves? Is that your concern?
That and the drills are ready to be submitted. There's certain things that the EFC, the Environmental Facilities Corp, is going to look at. One of them is that your project's already funded. So our drills are already funded. We already had the public interest order. We're out to bonding. We don't have that on Plan 3. So we haven't demonstrated that we're going to do this project with or without the grant. So,
right. Well, maybe we would only do it if we had, at this point, we'd do it if we had the grant. We won't do it
that's
without
not what they want to. That's not what they want to hear. They want to know that you're doing it with or without their money. So that's why we.
I'm also, if I'm recalling this correctly, the governor had different categories of water quality money, and some was for infrastructure, but some was specifically for contamination issues. So this grant would actually be different than these subaqueous crossings in terms of the pot of money. So maybe
I believe it all comes from the same pot of money. It's just that you may be they say they cap you at about $3 million. But if it concerns emerging contaminants, they will give you more money than they will pierce that cap. So
all right,
that's what the difference is.
Maybe give it a little bit of additional thought, because it would be nice to do the project if we had the money.
Sure.
But even though we're not required to do it now, doesn't hurt to have carbon filtration on your wells.
Not at all.
All right, let me go. Board, you guys have any questions about that? All right. James, was there more on your list?
That's pretty much all the topics we covered. That's why after that, I figured we'll do an open floor and bring up any topics that haven't been discussed. If you guys had any questions regarding anything, and if Richie had anything there.
Yeah, maybe a couple. We had at one point we did a community meeting, James. I thought that was good. And I know it's still a pandemic. I know it's a lot of the summer crowd has probably left, but it still might be nice to just do like a town hall style meeting. Plan for it. Could do it at the Hampton Bay Senior Center. And if anybody has questions for you guys, let them come and ask. I mean, you can do a brief presentation about some of the work. I mean, some people are going to see this Zoom call, or maybe they'll see it on CTV. But I kind of like the idea of making yourselves completely available to the public. Maybe having John there too, John Collins. It's once a year. It's like once a year community meeting. What do you guys think about doing about that idea?
I think it's outstanding. We've all put a lot of work into this place in the past couple of years, and we got a lot of new toys to show off.
If nobody comes, I'll take that as a good sign.
It's a very good sign. I'll take that as a great sign, Jay. But we got a lot of new stuff. We've made a lot of improvements to this district. the equipment, the filtration system.
So maybe we could do like a mailer, learn about your water district, the improvements being made, questions, ask, bring your questions, whatever it is.
People, we've had to raise the rates a few times in the recent past. And, as James stated before, I've been hands-on with the public a lot this summer myself, and I haven't encountered really any negativity with the rate increases. Word's gotten out about the improvements that are being made to the system. Speaking as a customer myself, I've noticed improvements to the water. You were talking about, we're talking about the taste being changed, the water being affected by the filtration system, and you brought up too much iron is not good. I think it's going to, from this point on, we are doing nothing but improving the quality and the taste of the water. I think that filtration system is only going to improve it for the better.
Well, also, when you bring the iron level way down, you don't have to use orthopolyphosphate in the water now. So
no, yeah, I mean, the reduction of chemicals is, that's pleasurable. By back in the day, we didn't put anything in the water, but unfortunately.
So that may be received quite positively. I don't know if that's detectable taste-wise, but
it's not really. But in the past, we've had issues with it fouling shower heads and stuff. When it was
right.
Back in the day. So yeah, the less contaminants in the water, the less chemicals you have to put in to treat it.
It's also a phosphate, but it's better for the environment to not put it in the water.
Yeah, I wanted to get out there too. While we're on the subject, we're also starting the first part of our yearly flushing, the 24th of this month. I hope it goes smooth. We allotted 2 weeks from 6 p.m. Till 6 a.m. The notifications have been made to the public. In addition to the flushing that we've already done this summer, I kind of hope that we can get any of the remaining contaminants out. This way we can realize the full benefit of the filtration system that we have.
Can we just go back for a second to this public meeting? So can you guys pick a date and make that happen?
Yeah, we'll just we'll wait till the iron plant's complete so we can maybe take some pictures, show them how it works.
All right, so maybe December or something. I don't know.
End of the year.
Yeah, once the filtration system's up and running and we have everything ironed out from that and flushing's completed and
All right.
And a part and parcel to this should also be an update on the 10-year capital plan that we instituted at the end of 2018 to go out to the public to let them know exactly where we are on that plan, where we, what we have going in and what we have moving forward.
Sure.
It'd be a good one.
Yep.
Other questions?
Yeah, James, I was wondering about the online pay system. Has that been successful, and are we still charging a fee on that?
Yeah, so far it's being utilized a lot, but yeah, I don't think the comptrollers have dropped the fee as of yet. I know we requested that to have that drop, but it's still being utilized. A lot of people do use it. Some people just don't pay their bill, it goes on their taxes. Some people come in, some people mail check. So it seems like the popularity of the online thing has taken off since COVID, so to speak.
Yeah. And what about your staffing levels? How are they? I know you've had some retirements and staffing is holding up.
Yeah, we actually just had a new hire last month, and he's working out well. He's doing very good, catching on well. Warren Booth's just retired. He was kind of the guy in charge of sampling, but we've had somebody basically shadowing his every movement and action and how to sample and notifications and so forth. So we haven't had a hitch in that aspect of transition. And just to let you guys know and the public know, besides our new hire and our part-timers, every single one of us is considered a water operator. There's 2 licenses, a 1B and a 2B water operator's license. Myself, Richie, George Valentino, Keith Tuttle, Charlie Carbona hold the 1B license, and then the rest of them hold a 2B waters operators license. So they're the knowledge that they are able to obtain through classroom and continuing education credits. It's not just somebody off the street that we throw out there to go fix something. They have a lot of knowledge on what they're going out to do and perform a task, whether it be sampling, fixing something, or just general knowledge of what's going on in the water district.
Great.
James, maybe you said this earlier, I don't recall, but I know we were staging the changing of the carbon on the 2 different GAC filters at field 1. I know we had already done one of them, but have we now changed out the filter media in the other as well, or is that waiting?
No, that's complete. We actually just got Board of Health approval to allow the second one, which is the south vessel at the plant, to go back in service. So now we're in full operation with all 3 wells and both vessels in service. It was a delay in with the company that comes out that actually takes the carbon out of the vessels. There was a delay, obviously, with them getting here to take the carbon out. But quick turnaround on both ends. It just takes a little time for sampling because sampling obviously is delayed due to COVID, but we're back full compliant, filtering out non-detect PFC's system.
Okay, and then we turn them off for the winter, right? That's what, in December?
Probably middle of November. Once we're done flushing, we want everything running at full capacity for flushing. So once we see the flushing's complete and demand really diminishes, we winterize them.
All right, so if there's no other questions, there is an item in executive session, correct?
Yes.
And how are we?
I think it's a phone call.
Are we doing that by phone? All right,
Yes.
so then we'll be able to, I guess, end the regular meeting, go into executive session. And then after that, we'll go to our regularly scheduled work session at 11. So, board, do you have any other questions that didn't get answered? All right, I'm not hearing any. So the executive session item, Jim, this is just on the litigation, the PFAS litigation?
That and also the agreement that we have to either do with Suffolk County on the automated valve on the east side of the town.
Okay. All right, so I will make a motion to end this meeting of the Hampton Bays Water District Commissioners, go into executive session on the automated valve and the PFAS litigation. Can I get a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Martell. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. So we're adjourned for all other purposes. We're going to do this by telephone